am compelled by Schlock.
Well, happy Schlocking Day, everybody. I am Darby Ellis Lewis Wilson, and this is my companion, Chris Anonymous. How's it going, Chris? Are you having a happy Schlocking Day?
I am having a fantabulous Schlocking Day.
Awesome. So traditionally, yesterday is the Boxing Day. Is that right?
Yes.
Boxing Day, is that what it's called? And
Yes,
and I've never heard of this before until yesterday. And correct me if I'm wrong. Apparently, Boxing Day is the day not where you go and just start fighting people, but it's when you actually give thanks to like people. I think traditionally like your servants, but now it's like people within the service industry. Is that correct?
I think so.
So
I know it's a bigger day in like England and Canada and other places such as that.
So today I'm labeling officially Schlocking Day, which is the day you
go schlocking.
Thank your Schlock Meisters by going and subscribing to their YouTube channel, Compelled by Schlock, which is just so happens to be the name of this show.
Right.
If everybody didn't know. So anyway, we have a movie for you today. It is after Christmas, but we, I believe, are doing one more Christmas movie this season called Jingle All the Way 2. It is a WWE movie with surprisingly little wrestling in it. I don't know if I've ever seen. There's actually a couple firsts in this for me. I don't know if I've ever seen a WWE movie before in my life. And I think this is the first movie I've ever seen starring Larry the Cable Guy or him being in it at all. I've never seen Cars. I've never seen the other stuff he's in. Delta Farce. Cars, right? Isn't he in that Cars movie?
Cars, yep.
He's the redneck truck.
Correct.
Right? Yeah, very fitting. So anyway, how we usually
go ahead.
How we usually run this show, I'm taking over. How we usually run this show is we go through talking about a movie. We watch a movie the week prior on Tubi, where you can watch all these movies for free unless they disappear, which sometimes happens. This movie will be disappearing within a few days, I believe. But we do a live show here that we post on YouTube later. And in the show, we talk about what's good about the movie, what's bad about the movie, and what's schlocky about the movie. Go ahead, Chris. I know you've been dying to say so.
Well, you had said you didn't think you had ever seen a WWE movie before, and I think you have. So I'm going to run by a couple and see if you've seen them. Scorpion King.
Nope. Never seen it.
Okay. See No Evil.
Is that starring Kane?
Yes.
Hodder? Never seen it.
Okay. The Rundown.
Is that where The Rock and the
Christopher Walken and
they like go to Africa maybe, and there's like this big pit mine that they gotta infiltrate? Yes, I have seen that very, very long time ago.
Oculus,
with what's her name? Karen Gillan.
That is correct. Yeah,
one of Doctor Who's companions. Also Nebula in the Marvel universe.
This is correct.
Yeah. I have seen that twice.
So you have seen a couple WWE movies.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I stand corrected. And I think, I don't recall any wrestling in Oculus. There may have been some.
I don't believe there is any.
In the rundown.
Although ghosts that would wrestle. I think I've never seen Oculus. Are there ghosts in Oculus?
Wrestling ghosts?
Yes, that's what I say. That would be cool. I want to see that.
I think nobody's still this. This one's ours. Yeah. Wrestling ghosts.
Ghost wrestling. Ghost wrestler.
WWP, Worldwide Poltergeist Wrestling. WWPW.
So I was looking through like the different people in the movie. The director, he did Tooth Fairy 2, which also stars Larry the Cable Guy. Came out right before this.
What is it? Tooth Fairy 2?
Yeah, the original Tooth Fairy starring Vin Diesel, I believe. Yeah. Okay. He did Beverly Hills Chihuahua 2, Inspector Gadget 2. Lots of sequels. Lots of.
So he's the sequel man.
Yeah, and a lot of like Christmas romance movies. Okay. Did you ever see an early 90s movie called Chairman of the Board starring Carrot Top?
Yes.
He did that.
Okay.
That's the one thing I had seen that I'm like, okay, I know what's
all right. So this guy's a kind of a Hollywood workhorse, huh?
Yeah. And it looks like a lot of the people are, and a lot of them have done a lot. Like it looks like they kind of banded together, like the editor, the cinematographer, a lot of them, you keep seeing them, not in every single movie of each other's, but like every 3 or 4 movies down the list, they all kind of meet up again and cross paths and different things. So
they're kind of their own little troupe.
Yeah, in a way. The writer, though, is a little Stefan Mazur. Not sorry if I'm butchering it. He actually has a fair amount of pedigree in the 90s. For like comedies, he did the Little Rascals.
Okay, I love the Little Rascals.
Yeah, that was like one of his first writing credits. Liar Liar.
Great movie.
Yep. Heartbreakers came out after that. And then he did a lot of like made for TV and some other sequels and stuff. And those were like the big ones I saw. And then just looks like he stayed busy. But yeah, it was interesting.
Good for him.
Yeah, but none of them were really, not a lot of schlock. You know what I mean? So like a lot of like made for TV movies, a lot of straight to video sequels and stuff, but not a lot of like, 80s and 90s horror that we would hope to see like, oh, that would be cool if he was in that.
Well, so that's the thing that's interesting about this movie, I think, is that this really kind of challenges, I think, maybe my view of, what is schlock. The reason I picked this movie is because we were looking for another holiday movie and searching around, like looking at top 10 schlocky Christmas movies, low budget Christmas movies, and Jingle All the Way kind of kept popping up on the list, and I saw like a lot of bad reviews of it, and so I was like, okay, this should be perfect. And it's relatively low budget, and that kind of fits into our schlocky framework. What we look for. Yeah, the schlocky framework, in that it's low budget. So the budget for it is $5 million, which that's right around a lot of the stuff that we've been watching. But to me,
in 2014.
Yeah, 2014. Okay. To me, $5 million seems like a lot of money for a movie that doesn't have like big explosions or people turning into monsters or things like that. But consider this. I had to look this up. The original Jingle All the Way cost $60 million. And I'm sure a lot of that went to Sinbad and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And they have like a really big finale in the movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger like dresses up like Turbo Man or whatever the superhero is. So they fly around at the Macy's Day Parade. So I can see where a lot of that budget would come from, but I is this movie schlock? And I think we can find ways that it is, but overall, I really think this was a pretty quality movie, to be completely honest.
Okay. That's interesting. So I had never seen the original Jingle All the Way.
Oh,
so when you picked this movie, I did
spoilers.
A double feature.
I'm sorry I ruined the ending for you.
You didn't, because I did a double feature. I watched Jingle All the Way on Tubi, and then I immediately watched Jingle All the Way 2 to see any callbacks or any reference points.
Well, that's great, because you can fill in a lot of blanks that I have in my memory.
Yeah. The other thing that might have cost a little money and was just hands down the one of the best things of the first Jingle All the Way is when he punches a reindeer.
Yeah.
Man. And I was hoping for something like that in Jingle All the Way too, and there were some things I liked in it, but there was no reindeer punching, and there was no crazy $1 million flying suit.
Is it Arnold that punches the reindeer?
Yes.
Is that a callback to Conan the Barbarian where he punches that? Does he like punch a camel in the face or something like that?
Yes, but he actually really punched that camel. This was a fake reindeer head. I mean, they had a real reindeer, but then it was an insert for the by 96, evidently it was not kosher to punch reindeer.
Just punch animals anymore.
Right.
So, okay.
Which I'm not about, punching animals is wrong, but for the sake
I don't know
of
if you've
art,
ever met a camel, but every once in a while, I think they probably need a good, good punch in the face. So I don't know. There's my hot take.
All right. Well, we're getting off topic. We'll get back to Jingle All the Way too. But so he punches the reindeer, right? And then it's hilarious, but then there's that little pause that you're like, did that just happen? And so Schwarzenegger does this weird grimace. And then he does the diffusing thing for the audience where he's like, well, you started it to the reindeer that's on the ground. And then they're sharing beer afterwards. And the reindeer is drinking beer out of a dog bowl, which is awesome. But enough of Jingle All the Way. Jingle All the Way 2.
Let's get into it. The good, the bad, and the schlock. Chris, what did you have for good in Jingle All the Way Part 2?
That's just straight up good, and it doesn't kind of combine schlock. Not a lot. I thought the little kid, I thought they did really good casting. I thought it was a great little part. I liked that the audience was in on the irony of the whole situation from the get-go, because obviously when we look at the letter as an audience member, we know that it doesn't say a Harrison doll. We don't know what it says, but we can infer it's something more wholesome and more innocent. And so the fact that it's this, pointless quest on something that she actually doesn't want, that adds this whole kind of ironic take on. So as you're watching it, you're more than everyone, and you're seeing how far they're going to go, and you realize that it's futile from the get-go. So that's a weird position to be in as an audience member. And I liked it. I don't know if they ran with it as much as they could have, but I like that idea.
Yeah.
What was good for you?
So right off the bat, like I said, I've never seen Larry the Cable Guy in anything other than his stand-up, or think maybe I saw a couple of the blue collar comedy sketches, something like that. But like I said, I was reading the reviews for this movie, and a lot of the ones that I was reading were not very favorable, and they put a lot of that on the acting. And so I was going into this thinking, okay, Larry the Cable Guy is a comedian, not an actor, right? And I was immediately like, oh, what are they talking about? I think he's doing a great job. I think he's really funny. He's hitting comedic notes.
It felt like he was playing Larry the Cable Guy.
Oh, definitely.
But in a pitch perfect way.
Definitely.
So if you hire him to be the star of your movie, then you can't complain when you get him as the star of your movie, right?
Right.
He played that character well, and that's a character that he created. That's not his normal voice. That's not. I mean, he was a different kind of stand-up before, and then he created this character, and then he just stayed in character for comedy and acting. So
the dude's from Nebraska.
Right?
I mean, people from Nebraska don't talk like that.
Yeah. My great grandma's hometown.
Oh, does she?
No, my great grandma's. He's from my great grandma's.
Gotcha. Understand. Yeah. This picture, real quick. Yep. While we're here, I do want to say for good that just I felt like the introduction in general was solid. I immediately liked these characters, and I guess kind of one of the things I'm thinking of this movie in comparison to our other sort of kid-friendly, quirky comedy Christmas movie that we watched earlier this season, Santa with Muscles. And so this particular scene right here, where they're singing the I don't know what it is, the Hawaii Christmas song. And they're both singing together. I was singing that in comparison to Hulk Hogan's scene in the church where they're singing Angel Baby and Santa with Muscles. And I was like, okay, this has me hooked way better. Like, this is very endearing. Yeah, and I like these characters so much better.
Yeah. There's going to be some good tinged in with my bad that I'll get to that has to do with that. But yeah.
Well, and let me run this out too real quick.
Yeah.
I feel like this, and this is where you can fill in some of the blanks. I feel like the overall premise of this movie was better than Jingle All the Way the first one, not part one, the first Jingle All the Way. A dad competing against another dad for his daughter's love. Whereas in the first one, I think he's just kind of an absent dad that keeps breaking his promises. Is that right?
That is right. I like them both for different reasons. I think that the premise in Jingle All the Way 2 is probably stronger, but I don't think the execution was as well. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to have to go with Jingle All the Way Part 1 because the toy represents, it becomes like a metaphor for his failing. And he's like, okay, I know this toy is just a toy and it doesn't mean anything, but I've made you so many promises and I've broken so many promises. I'm not breaking this promise. So then it becomes thematic and takes on this, right? And so you can believe
it's a thematic MacGuffin.
Right. So you believe like the links he'll go to in the first one because you're like, okay, it's just a toy, but I get everything, all the weight behind it, right? Whereas this, there's no weight behind the toy, and the audience knows that, and the two dads don't know that, so it doesn't have that. Right. It's more like, guys, just stop doing stupid stuff and talk to each other, and you'll figure it out, right? As opposed to, nope, you got to get that toy because you're a kind of a deadbeat dad and. Deadbeat's not the right word. Workaholic dad.
He pays his taxes.
Yeah. You're a workaholic dad who hasn't given attention to your kid. And so now all your eggs are literally in one basket and it's a Turbo Man basket. Right. Whereas the Harrison doll is just a total MacGuffin. It's total, like, it doesn't matter. And
so if we're transitioning to the bad,
yes,
that's kind of one of my main things for bad. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot that I disliked about this movie, but I think the themes could have been stronger. And like you said, with the Turbo doll, it's a MacGuffin, right? It's something that the characters care about that the audience doesn't necessarily care about. But the Turbo Man doll, that carries thematic weight to it, right? 100%. I mean, especially when by the end, his dad personifies the doll. Right. He like puts the suit on. Whereas in this, it takes so long for the Harrison doll to even come in.
Matter plot wise. Yeah.
And then they put a lot of emphasis on the letter. And you think that letter is going to be like a bigger part of the plot. Like we see it and we know that, like, okay, that's not necessarily what it says. I couldn't figure it out. And I was kind of ashamed of that. I was thinking her a son. Yeah, if you can read it there, to get her a son. I thought maybe the wife was pregnant or something.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I feel like we talk about story beats a lot, and this specific moments a movie is supposed to have to kind of lead the audience along, and to get us locked into the main conflict of the story. I felt like it just really took a long time to get that Harrison doll in there, to get the letter in there.
Yep. That's one of my bad in my bad column is the setup took so long. It just, and it was the same thing. Dad's competing. and one's up and the other fails. And it was the exact same scene, like 3 or 4 times in a row of just like, well, now there's water getting sprayed on him. Well, now there's fake snow getting sprayed on him. Well, now he's getting electrocuted. Yeah. Which any one of those is fine, but they're all the same thing. They didn't up anything. You just took up space. So,
well, and that's something I had in my schlock, and it was kind of between schlock and bad, was their fun and games section is what we would call it. They just really didn't hold weight to the theme of the story as a whole. Him getting like riding the bull, right? Like there's no consequence to him cheating in riding the bull, other than like he doesn't get what he wants. But I mean, he like totally cheated, right? That's like a big theme. But anyway, so sorry, go ahead. The rest of your bad.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do the big bad to me, and they're tied in with the good. So we talked about too much setup. The plot was really hard to believe in this day and age, and they did like mention the eBay route and mention a bunch of different things, like get it online, but they mentioned them too late, right? You needed to have all those things show up a lot sooner, so the audience isn't like, well, just get it on eBay, man. You're like, and then they said, well, I couldn't find it, or it's sold out, or something. Like, you need that to appear the second the audience is asking that question. Otherwise, that's in the back of my head for 20 minutes. And then I'm like, oh, there's the throwaway line. So now I can stop thinking about that.
Well, the thing that was in the back of my head the whole time was, I mean, we live in an age, and not just like with COVID and like toilet paper shortages and whatnot, but I mean, we live in an age where like things get sold out all the time. Popular toys and products. And stores like a long, long time ago resorted to like one per customer, right?
Correct.
Because it doesn't matter if one person buys all of them. As long as all of the toys get sold and they can keep customers happy, they're going to go that route.
Yeah, you're going to keep more customers happy. So yeah, I have never seen a store that would let you buy all of the bears. Just wouldn't happen. Not when you have 100 parents out there like, we got them. Sorry, but the first customer bought all 50 million. Nope, didn't happen.
Right.
Like, and you could have had like a funny thing where the bad guy henchman keeps coming back in like a disguise or something to buy more.
See,
and like
that would have been good fun and games.
Right. Okay. So that's a problem. My biggest problem is that it's a really well-written sitcom episode. It's not a movie. It is a stretched out sitcom. It has all the beats of the sitcom. It's all about the misunderstanding of the situation, where the theme is like, gosh, if we would have just talked to each other, we would have realized that we could have both shared her and been good dads. And like, it didn't have the weight of a movie like Jingle All the Way had. It had the weight of a sitcom episode where you learn a lesson and nothing's really changed. And I could see them getting into Jingle All the Way 3 hijinks with Larry the Cable Guy. Right. So I think I think the writer's a good writer, and I think he wrote a really good sitcom, and they padded it out to a movie.
Well, I mean, is this like a straight to video or straight to DVD movie?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think lots of movies get made that way, but that's a complaint to me. Also, the stepdad buying up all the bears just to spite the dad.
That was my number one problem with this movie.
It is so messed up.
He to me, he is nearly irredeemable.
100% irredeemable. I'm like, and then Larry, the Cable Guy at the end's like, well, okay, well, I'll help you out. I'm like, no, you don't get a Grinch moment where you come back from the edge.
Right. Like this guy, like he uses his wealth to like manipulate a market for his own selfish gain, right?
And it doesn't.
It would be one thing if he was doing it on his own, but the fact that he sends out a henchman to do it means that he has like some sort of space to like think about it. And this scene right here, the screenshot that we have up where he's taking the doll away from the kid. See, that's like a huge problem for me for the dad being able to be redeemed, because the dad's motivations is to make it so that Larry can't get a doll for his daughter, not the other kids can't have the doll. So by him like taking away the doll and like condoning that in some way, that solidly makes him a bad guy.
Yeah. Well, and that's why they have a henchman doing it, is so he has plausible deniability. Right? I didn't know he took that from the kid. I just told him to buy all the toys and stash them so no kid could get the toy. It is so messed up. Like, you are screwing hundreds of kids out of a Harrison doll, like thousands of kids, right?
Right.
And
ruin everybody's Christmas.
Yeah. And so you have that teddy bear fight at the end, which is pretty funny. But the whole time,
it was an odd
like,
teddy bear fight.
Yeah, it could. Well, and then he's like wielding them like nunchucks or swords or something. Like, yeah. So what do you have for schlock? Well,
I think the teddy bear fight fits nicely into schlock, but here's a good screenshot of it, because I noticed it in this scene. Is there like a huge amount of green screen in this movie? Like, was the factory or the box company where all the Harrison dolls, was that all, or like the majority green screen? And then,
I don't know. Let's go to that shot. The I labeled it so Scooby-Doo.
Yeah,
because I love this shot. It reminds me of like, it's very kind of Tim Burton-y. Mm-hmm. And it reminds me of like
very
just
striking.
Like an old Scooby-Doo mystery, and like just the way it's lit. But it looks
the haunted castle that they have to go.
Yeah, and then it's just the red truck versus the I just love.
But yeah, look at that place. It doesn't look like it exists in real life, right?
No, and I mean that if this is a real shot and they lit it, man, that is so cool. And I just want to do like the art house version where you base the whole film aesthetic on this one shot.
It wins an award for best cinematography.
Oh man, that's good stuff.
So yeah, I just thought that was an odd that was an odd thing to see for like I said, a movie that doesn't have people transforming into monsters or big explosions. The use of, I think, potentially so much green screen, and with the Harrison dolls, it made sense, because then they'd only have to make like 10, 20 Harrison dolls. And instead of filling up a warehouse with them, they can just like fill up these digitally duplicated boxes. Right. But then I started noticing it everywhere in the movie. And I thought that was a little odd. The other thing that I would put into schlock were the characters in general. So like, for instance, the twins, I thought that was an odd scene. It seemed like throughout the movie, they're trying to build up like this cast of characters, right? Like kind of like The Simpsons, you have Mr. Burns and the Quickie Mart guy and the Bumblebee guy. And right. They all have like these little things. And at the end, you would see them, and you sort of do. You see these two creepy twins at the end, and you see a lot of the same people. But I wish that if they were going to do that, they would have really doubled down on that. Like the Santas from the bull riding scene. Like I wish they would have all been there. Angry.
Yeah. If you're going to have all these quirky characters, then you should have callbacks, right?
Right.
And like, yeah, I agree with you completely.
And so that kind of goes back and forth between bad and schlock. It's like, it's an odd thing to put in to not double down on, I guess.
There's lots of weird things. And you were talking about like structure and like, we're talking about structure that's like just kind of built into us since we've watched movies from a kid on up, of just like, oh, this is going to happen. Right. It doesn't mean it should happen but like, you just get that feeling. So like the scene that was interesting to me was, when they went tree shopping and the attractive sales lady came up and started chatting him up. It felt like that was going to be this subplot that he was going to like try and start dating her.
Right.
And she never comes back again. But it was just
that's about time in the movie where you start locking things in.
Right. That's where you would meet someone, you know, to like possibly start dating because you're a single dad, right? And like that's almost a meet cute, right? Where it's like, oh, I'll go get something and then you'll get this, right? And then he has the snow sprayed on him, and I'm like, oh, that was weird that you spent all this time there and there's no subplot.
Hijinks ensue.
Right?
So, well, we're getting sung out. That's all the time that we have for this week. Chris, what is our movie for next week? We're starting the new year. What are we starting it with?
Warriors of Virtue.
Warriors of Virtue?
Warriors of Virtue.
Warriors of Virtue. All right. Well, I'm Darby Ellis Wilson. This is Chris Anonymous. We've been compelled by Schlock, and we will see you next week. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and tell all of your friends. Peace, guys.
I am compelled by Schlock. Compelled by Schlock. Compelled by Schlock. Wait, no.